At the start of the season, I don't think anyone would have predicted that Daniel Ricciardo would be gone from the sport by the end of the year. But as silly season rolls on, it's starting to seem more and more likely that that may happen. Instead of just leaving McLaren for another team though, Zac Brown offered him another option, but Daniel just had to refuse. Want to know what is going on with Daniel Ricciardo and where we'll see him next year? Then stick around for the rest of the video. The Belgian Grand Prix was the first time we've seen Daniel Ricciardo since the news broke that Oscar Piastri had a contract with McLaren for 2023. Obviously, McLaren wouldn't have wanted him to find out via an Oscar Piastri tweet that wasn't even related to the McLaren team, but that's how it's happened. According to Martin Brundle, Ricciardo looked like a broken man when he saw him at the Belgian Grand Prix. His exit from the team was finally confirmed in the lead up to the race at Spa, and he is allegedly being paid anything from $10 to $25 million, depending on who you listen to. No matter the amount, being paid by your team to not drive for them anymore cannot be good for your confidence. Some of that money, it has been reported, will be paid back to McLaren if Ricciardo secures another seat for next year's championship. The driver's saying he is open to offers under the right circumstances. Despite not making it into Q3 on Saturday at Spa, Ricciardo was elevated up the order when grid penalties were applied to several drivers, including his McLaren teammate Lando Norris. Ricciardo jumped up to 7th, Norris fell down to 17th, and yet he was the better placed McLaren driver on Sunday. The Briton raced his way to 12th, making up 5 places, while Ricciardo dropped all the way down to 15th. It has since been revealed though that the poor performance wasn't completely Ricciardo's fault, with the 33-year-old having to have an older spec rear wing fitted to his car after FP3. McLaren bought 2 new wings with them, but a problem with Daniel's meant he had an older and heavier rear wing, which resulted in more downforce and less top speed. Not what you want at a high-speed track like Spa. "I'm not enjoying watching Daniel," said Martin Brundle. "It's painful, isn't it? I consider him a friend and I rate him massively as a person and a racing driver. If I was McLaren, I would have done the same thing because he's struggling to get pace and you can't take that for another 18 months. I would have done exactly the same thing." Christian Horner, Daniel's former boss and a big advocate of his, had something similar to say at Spa. Ricciardo's 5 years racing for the Red Bull team were by far his most successful, and when he left the team, Horner was incredibly disappointed. "It's just very sad," Horner told the media. "Obviously, I'm not close to it. I've spoken to Daniel a little bit. I don't recognize him as the same driver as when he was with us. He's one of the best guys out there. He's definitely got that capability. His confidence has been zapped. We're used to seeing him on the podium, doing shoeies, messing around with that big smile, and we don't see any of that anymore. I hope, for him, that he finds an opportunity to further his career, because I think Formula 1 is better off having him in this championship than not. Horner might still want him in Formula 1, but his current boss Zac Brown doesn't. Despite the fact he's paying Ricciardo to not race for him, he still doesn't want the Australian to race against him. But how did he try to convince Ricciardo to not drive against the McLaren team in the future? Well, before sacking the Perth driver, McLaren chief executive Zac Brown made a desperate bid to keep Ricciardo on the team roster and out of Formula 1 by offering him a seat in IndyCar instead. Yes, we spoke about that, Brown confirmed. As Andreas Seidel said, he's an exceptional racing driver and any team that he drives for is so privileged to have Daniel drive for them. And we do have a variety of racing activities. But that being said, he's very focused on Formula 1. It's pretty common knowledge that Ricciardo is a huge fan of everything American. He loves his NASCAR and IndyCar as well, but for any racing driver, being in Formula 1 is the pinnacle of your career, especially if you're able to win races like Ricciardo has. Maybe in the future, he will make the same move as Kimi Räikkönen did and retire to driving in NASCAR in his 40s. With how popular Drive to Survive is in America, he would have definitely been welcomed with open arms by the American motorsport fans. It also would have conveniently saved McLaren millions of dollars if he would have accepted. Maybe he would have said yes to the change if he was actually at the end of his contract, but if there is any bad blood between him and the team, he chose the perfect way to give them the middle finger by forcing them to pay out to get him gone. "I would say currently I see myself as more of a fan of Indy," Ricciardo told Formula 1. "It's maybe not necessarily that I'm not interested in it, it's more that I still feel there is unfinished business here. There's a little more Daniel here in F1. That's why I've kind of got the blinkers on for F1 still, and to try to make it work here before I invest time into something else. The big question for Daniel now, though, is where is he going to go to be able to give more of himself to the sport? It is widely accepted that the Alpine seat, which was being discussed as an option for him, is now going to go to Pierre Gasly. Helmut Marko has been in discussions with Alpine about the move, and interviews with AlphaTauri have confirmed that they're open to letting Pierre go. That AlphaTauri seat won't be an option for Daniel though. They will want to give someone from the Red Bull Academy a go. Alfa Romeo was another option, but with Zhou Guanyu being a consistently good performer during his debut season, there's no reason for them to let him go. The options are becoming limited and less exciting for Daniel as each race passes, and at the moment, without a shock outgoing happening elsewhere on the grid, there are only 2 teams that might take him. The best option for Daniel is a spot at Haas. Although Gunther Steiner has not officially ruled out Mick Schumacher continuing with the team into next season, alongside the already contracted Kevin Magnussen, he is making no secret of the fact that the discussions are or will be ongoing with several other drivers. The shortlist has been said to be 3 possible drivers: Daniel Ricciardo, Nico Hülkenberg and Antonio Giovinazzi, who is doing FP1 sessions for the team in Monza and Austin, are believed to be in contention. For sure, that cockpit is more interesting than it was last year, says Steiner. I remember when we let Kevin and Roman go at the end of 2020, and I said, guys, you probably don't want to be here in 21 because it's probably going to be a very disappointing year. Now the car is much better, and I think it will get better over time too, so obviously we're much more interesting opportunity. This point from Gunther is important. It isn't just about who wants Daniel, it's about where Daniel wants to go. Steiner carried on by saying that the team very specifically wants someone who can help them push forward and continue up the grid. As an 8-time race winner, he would be by far the best driver the team has ever had. He definitely helped improve Renault while he was there, which won't be a big plus for the decision makers at Haas. Whether his bad run with McLaren has done enough damage to his reputation to make the team forget the good work he did previously though, we don't know. Williams are in a similar position to Haas. They want a driver who can help push them forward. Team boss Jos Capito has made no secret of Nicholas Latifi's position in regards to 2023. If he can impress in the remaining races, then he's in with a chance of a seat. If not, then Williams aren't afraid to look elsewhere. Ricciardo is definitely the best option for them as well, but with how slow they were this year, will Daniel really want to go there? F1 journalist Joe Saywood has come out with maybe the most surprising possible move though. He thinks Ricciardo will end up at Mercedes as a reserve driver behind Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. There, the Australian could work on his self-confidence and possibly drive himself into the spotlight for Hamilton's seat. The Britain's contract does expire at the end of 2023. That seems a little outlandish to us, but it is good to know all the options. Whatever happens, I'm sure many of you would love to see him carry on in the sport. But where do you think he'll end up though? Or do you think he should have taken Zac Brown's offer of driving in an IndyCar next year? Let us know what you think in the comments, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.